Welcome to the House of Ghouls Horror Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Ian VanGhoul, joined as always by my best friend and co-host, Colby Does Horror. Colby, how you doing this week, brother?
Dude, I'm doing good, man. I've been gaming a lot, got a lot of good movies in. I was gonna go see The Monkey for the third time today, but I was too tired, so I just took a nap instead. But I've been pretty good. How about
Hell
you?
yeah. I'm doing great. Happy to be here as always. So today we are joined by an absolute legend. He's a writer, director, actor, producer, and all around nice fucking guy. You may recognize him from his films Tahoe Joe 2, or most recently, the punk rock skateboard slasher, The Summer We Died. Please welcome Dillon Brown to the show. Dillon, welcome. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. That's an intro like I've never had before, legend. So I'll take that all day long.
Hell yeah. We're just happy to have you here.
No, I'm happy to be here.
For
Awesome.
the little indie horror community, I don't think there's any other way to describe you.
You know, um, Being in the indie horror community, it's like you just have to be all those things, otherwise it won't work. Yeah, it's just like it's a lot of work, and I think people see all those credits and they go, "Oh God, how do you do it?" And I'm like, you can't be an indie creator if you don't do it. You just have to wear all the hats, you know.
And it's funny, how I found you. I think you were promoting a movie. It was The Summer We Died. You were promoting it in some horror group. So I messaged you. I was like, "Hey man, I do horror movie reviews on TikTok and Instagram. I'd love to check out your movie if you want me to review it." And you're like, "Yeah, man, of course." So I looked up your filmography and instantly I was like, "This is the fucking dude that did Tahoe Joe. No fucking way." And I got so excited.
That is cool. I had that happen not that long ago. I was in Walmart and I had the Tahoe Joe sweatshirt, and not this one I've got on, but it's the same logo with the
Mhm.
foot. And I don't know, he was probably like 19 or 20. He was like, "Oh, I've seen that movie. I love that." And I was like, "Me too." And I almost wanted to say like I'm the guy from it, but I didn't. I just thought it was more fun just to be like, I can't believe he actually knew the movie. And I was like, I don't even care if he didn't realize that it was me in it at all. It was just one of those moments of like, damn, is this thing like really getting out there? Like, that's really cool to just somebody recognize the logo. So it was pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, speaking of films and filmmaking, we'll go into a couple kind of icebreaker questions. Uh, so I'm curious, kind of what got you into filmmaking just to begin with?
You know, um, I think a lot of artists probably have the same precursor. It was COVID. I worked for the military, Department of Defense on a base, and nobody had any idea how to handle it. And so, like, the base was kind of like, are we open? Are we closed? Are we allowed to have people here? So I was out for a little while with no work. I mean, we were getting paid, but we were kind of just told to like stand down. And uh, frankly, I was like bored out of my mind, and I ended up writing a novel in like a week. And then I was like, well, okay, you spent like 70 hours just like writing this book, and I got really into it, and it's so much fun. And then I had that hard realization that nobody reads anymore, and it like nobody wanted to buy it, and would read it, and it was like, fuck you. Um, but I thought, what's like right here at my disposal is my cell phone. And I always loved movies. And even as a little kid, I made movies all the time with like little action figures. And um, so one day I kind of just decided to go out into the desert. And I thought it's a good way to social distance. I'll go by myself. And I was out in the desert with my cell phone, and I thought, what could I do out here on my own that would be fun? And I thought, well, found footage obviously is like the only thing you can do where you're in world camera. And I'm in the Nevada desert, so I made a little like 9 minute Tremors fan film in found footage style, and I tossed it up on YouTube. And I remember posting like a link to it on Twitter, and John Squires from Bloody Disgusting retweeted it. And next thing I know, they posted it on bloodydisgusting.com that there's a Tremors fan film shot during the pandemic. And I was like, holy crap, people like this. This is fun. And I was like, that was easy and so fun. And so I thought, well, what could I do bigger? And it just pretty much grew from there exponentially. And then it was like another short film, another short film. And then I tackled a feature, and it's like we're 5 years into it now, and like 8 or 9 movies in. I produce like 7 or 8 others, and it's just gone wild.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I was looking at your filmography, and we'll get into more of it later on. But I did notice that, yeah, pretty much your filmography work started at like 2020. I was like, he stays busy. You've
Yeah.
done a lot in a very short amount of time. So hell yeah, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
much to the chagrin of my wife. She was like, I think you need to slow down a little bit because we got birthday parties and we got dinner parties and we got this and that, and you're always like covered in blood and dirty and out, till late. And I was like, yeah, I know, I need to chill back a little bit here.
So were you a horror fan like before you started all this too?
Oh yeah, big time. I was very lucky that my mom, who isn't necessarily like the biggest horror fan ever, but she knew that I was kind of interested, and so she used to stay up late at night and watch pretty much any scary movie I was interested in. She would stay up to watch it with me, even as like probably third, fourth grade. And I watched Jaws with her when I was probably in about third grade, and I was so like absolutely blown away at that movie. That it had me hooked. And I think that adrenaline rush that Jaws gave me, no other movies like in any other genres were doing that. I love action movies and all that, but nothing gave me that like roller coaster thrill that Jaws did, especially the second half. And so I just became addicted. And then so we used to go to the movie store. And they had like a 5 movies, 5 days, $5 deal. And I would grab 5 horror movies based on the coolest box art I could find.
Yep.
And just power through them. I mean, and I watched, 80% of what I rented was horrible schlock, but I've now grown to love that schlock. And now I like kind of make that schlock. So I just had this weird full circle moment,
That's one of the things I miss the most about like old horror movies is the cover art.
Oh man, it's such a lost art anymore.
As a kid, like I think that's how 90% of us like chose what we wanted to rent from the video store.
Oh, absolutely. I remember being like obsessed with this one, and it was like this woman's sexy legs that were like up and spread, and there was like this thing between it. It was called Inseminoid, and I was like, I have to watch this. And my mom's like, yeah, I don't know if that's really appropriate or not. Inseminoid. I think we'll skip that one, but I eventually watched it when I got older, and I was like, yeah, okay, I wasn't missing a whole lot, but yeah, it was the box art, really.
Yeah, the one I was gonna say the one that affected me the most, I was too scared to rent it because it terrified me, was Jason Goes to Hell.
Oh, with like the worm thing.
Yeah, I think it's some of the coolest art I've ever seen.
Fun fact, that's getting a 4K release.
No, it's not.
It is. That and Jason X.
Let's go.
Right.
I just saw that on Twitter, actually. Yeah. And Jason Goes to Hell is such a funny movie to me because it's Jason Goes to Hell. It's got the big opening scene, and then Jason just like isn't really a thing. It's just like people possessed for it's almost the same as when he goes to Manhattan. You're like, you have this whole premise that you're expecting, and then you get like 10% Jason, then the rest all this other crap,
I love it. I love that movie so much.
It's so much fun. Hey, buddy. I've got children here.
No, you're good.
To all the listeners, all of my millions of fans that are watching this.
That's what's up. Hell yeah. So my last intro question then, which I guess you kind of answered already, but I'd say you're pretty iconic for what you do with your movies. So I'll explain. I bring it up every time I review one of yours, is the fact that you cast veterans and first responders, which I fucking love. I respect the hell out of that. Kind of how did that come about? Was that because of being a veteran yourself, or was there something that kind of like gave you that idea to do that?
So I'm actually not a vet. I am in like a unique situation where I work for the Army as an Army employee, and I get all the benefits, but I actually never served. So just to put that out there, I have so much respect for the guys that actually, did go out and do that stuff. And I got lucky. I sit in an office and I do business analytics and stuff for the Army. But it was my co-star, Mike Rock from Tahoe Joe. I had cast him in a movie I did called The Flock. I think in like 2021 or 2. And Mike and I were chatting one day, and I knew he was a former Green Beret. It's one of the reasons I cast him was I wanted to sit back as a director more. And I was like, the last thing I want to do is like do all this choreography for people, handling firearms correctly and all that. So I was like, we got a Green Beret. He can tackle that, and he can help a lot of these actors out. Well, Mike and I wanted to work with Mike immediately after the flock. I was like, I have to work with this guy again. And so we were planning the Tahoe Joe shoot, and we were just kind of becoming more friends than I think, filmmaker buddies at the time. And so we were starting to talk about things that were outside of filmmaking. And Mike let slip one time that he, in his line of work, tackling down pedophiles and all that kind of stuff, he's got to see like the worst of the worst all the time. And so when he was on set, he was getting this, like, I don't know, just like this situation, I guess, or this comfort of not having to be present in his personal life, and he could go be whoever he was in the movie world. And we were talking about how, maybe there's other people that have the same type of feeling when they're on a film set. They've got all this stuff going on in their personal life, but they can block it out for a little bit and play in this fantasy world, and that it might help. And so we started talking to some of the other vets that we had, and they were all saying the same thing. And then to me, it was like, well, this is more important than having the best actor or, having a huge budget. If I can have people that are positively affected by being on our sets because of the stuff that they deal with outside of this, I want to be there for them. And so it just, it just became more important than the films themselves. And so I just dedicated my work to that.
Obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours. I can't wait to meet you, but I cannot wait to meet Mike. I've become such a huge fan of Mike. I love the chemistry you two have in your movies, because you can tell it's a real life friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike Rock is like, he is literally like a Renaissance man. I mean, the guy has done everything. He's always trying new things. I mean, he goes from playing a neo-Nazi in The Summer We Died to then being Santa Claus on the Polar Express at Christmas. He's writing a book on his memoirs. He's a decorated vet. He's just like this, almost like this, I don't know, fantasy book character that you don't think is a real person. But when you're in a room with him, you just feel immediately comfortable. Mike is just got so much charisma that it's just impossible not to love the guy.
It's funny too when you say everything he's been through, tackling all the horrible people. I could definitely tell, like, he took some kind of inspiration when he played the villain in The Summer We Died, because I think personally, like, I love him in Tahoe Joe. I thought that was like his most standout role where he did the best.
Yeah, it was fun for me too. I had told Mike, we were kind of joking around. I said, I got to cast you in something where you don't just play like Mike Rock. Because even in The Flock or Ghost, when he's playing like a mercenary, and then in Tahoe Joe, it's still like shades of Mike in those characters. And so it was really fun to put him in a situation where he was going to be the exact opposite of what he really is. And it was fun just to sit back and kind of watch this character come to life, because I didn't really give him a lot of direction. I just sort of told him, this is the character, but I want you to do with it what you want. And I think what Mike did so well is he didn't go like overly theatrical. He was really subtle with his stuff, and it made his character that much more sinister because he was so reserved. It felt like a guy who really does have those awful beliefs and stuff, and he did a wonderful job.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on the rest of The Summer We Died because I want to talk all about it here.
I was trying not to say anything else about it.
But yeah, with all that said, let's get into the horror movie news.
Scary movie news.
So now, I don't know how far you guys take decorating for Halloween, but for fans of outside decorations and inflatables, there's a big one on the way. So a company by the name of Halloween Costumes is releasing a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man inflatable that is 50 feet tall for the low price of $1,000.
That's it?
Yeah. So look, just imagine dropping that amount of money on a 50-foot inflatable and then getting a gnarly windstorm and just seeing it fly.
That motherfucker's gone.
Right on by.
It's like that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, we get terrible winds over here in my part of Nevada. And so that thing would be gone in about I don't know, half hour it'd be in the neighbor's yard or across the block somewhere upside down.
Yeah, that's wild.
I was gonna say, imagine having that 50-foot skeleton that you can get at Lowe's and like Home Depot and shit. Having just those two in your yard.
Oh yeah.
That'd be
And nothing
amazing.
else.
Yeah.
So well, like those ones are only, the skeletons are 12 feet.
Mhm. Oh, I thought
So
they were
just
50-foot ones.
No, they're 12. So just imagine, like I'll post a picture in the video, but it's the size of a house. Like it's fucking huge.
That's
Imagine
insane.
it's like a little pinprick gets in it, and then you got to watch it just like and just launch off.
It'll be like the crazy inflatable man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, I have to bring it up. Like that thing's way too gnarly to not talk about.
I'm gonna get it and put it in my room.
You have no room left.
It'll just be bent over.
Yeah.
So speaking of gnarly, the first official trailer for Screamboat was released this week, along with the announcement that it will be hitting theaters on April 2nd for a limited time. Of course, Screamboat stars David Howard Thornton as Steamboat Willie, and it looks gnarly. Colby, have you seen the trailer?
Michael Levy shared it to me today. It's a lot gorier than I thought it was gonna be, just from what I saw in the trailer.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say, even if the movie itself isn't great, which I think it's gonna be pretty good, but even if it's not great, it's gonna at least be really fucking gnarly when it comes to blood and gore.
Yeah, anytime like Damien Leone is attached, I mean he's not attached to this, but the Fuzz on the Lens guys, anytime any of them are attached, you know you're in for some gnarly practical effects.
Absolutely.
We have a Mickey Mouse fan here.
Big Mickey Mouse fan?
He likes Mickey, huh?
What about dinosaurs? Are you a fan of dinosaurs?
You better be, because Daddy's got Jurassic Park stuff all over this place. He's camera shy.
That's my kid's thing right now is dinosaurs.
Yeah, I never got over it. I basically about his age, I was obsessed, and my mom's got like a recording when I was saying all the big names. I'm like Ornitholestes, Rhamphorhynchus, and all these big words, and I remember all my friends kind of slowly phasing out of it, and I just got like more intense. And now I've got a half sleeve Jurassic Park tattoo. I've got all my Kenner toys from the 90s. Yeah, I'm obsessed.
Are you excited for the new one with Scarlett Johansson?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, first of all, anything with Scarlett Johansson, I'm like, yes, I want to watch. But because I love those movies so much, and I was pretty let down with Dominion, I kind of enjoyed some of the visuals and stuff, and the nostalgia thing was sort of fun. But I'm a firm believer that Colin Trevorrow didn't necessarily capture like the Jurassic essence in his movies. I thought he was a little more on the action spectacle side. And it's fine. I mean, they all made $1 billion. Good for them. That's great. But I think Gareth Edwards is going to really take this thing back to more of the just kind of the intense where the dinosaurs are the focal point again, and I saw that trailer and I'm like, yep, I'm 1,000% in. Let's go. If
you got a budget, could we get a dinosaur movie from you in the future?
Oh, dude, that is like my biggest fantasy ever would be to do. I mean, I've got a story and everything already written. It's essentially, do you remember what's the Riddick movie? I think it's just called Riddick, when he's like on that island by himself and there's those not island, a planet, and there's those like big scorpion creatures coming up out of the ground. And
yeah.
So my story would be like a contained story, like a one guy, basically like Jeremiah Johnson, mountain man type dude who's pitted against like an Allosaurus or a T-Rex. And it's basically like those two characters squaring off for like 90 minutes. And he's trying to figure out like how to elude this thing. I mean, that would be like my ultimate fantasy.
That would be gnarly. I'd be awesome. All in for that.
Yeah. And I would want a big budget because I'd want to go like build me a big Stan Winston practical effect. I don't want to settle for CG. Like give me the money and let's build a big ass life-size chomper.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about Jurassic Park later when we have one of our favorite questions at the end.
Awesome. You want to go see your brother? You want to sit here with Daddy?
Yeah.
Okay. This is why we're the horror dads.
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so speaking of older characters getting new horror movies, Popeye the Slayer Man has also received a release date. So it's hitting theaters and VOD on March 21st.
Theaters?
I'm assuming limited theaters, probably very limited theaters. But regardless, this one is about a group of friends who sneak into an abandoned spinach factory to film a documentary on the legend of the Sailor Man, who of course haunts the factory. So yeah, this is just one of at least three. And yeah, it's hitting theaters and VOD March 21st.
That's awesome. Is that the one with the poster where he's got like the huge pipe in his mouth?
That's a good question. Yeah, they all run together.
There's so many coming out, and we'll talk about one here shortly when we talk about what we watched.
I can't wait.
Oh man.
And then last bit of news, finally, in sad news. If you guys haven't heard, Michelle Trachtenberg unfortunately passed away on Wednesday at the age of 39. She's of course known for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Harriet the Spy, Eurotrip, the 2006 Black Christmas remake, and a plethora of other shows and movies. But she was a very talented actress, and our condolences go out to her friends and family. But yeah, that was a bit of a shock. And very, very unfortunate.
One of my favorite non-horror movies that no one's talking about of hers is 17 Again.
Is that the one with
Matthew Perry and Zac Efron?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I was a big Eurotrip fan.
Yeah.
Like that one, because that to me was I remember everybody in the theater was like, is that Harriet the Spy? And then she like shows up in that club scene and we're like, damn, Harriet the Spy, what the hell? But she was so fun in that because her character was never like, for being a raunchy comedy, I always thought they handled her character well because they never really like turned her into like the slut character or whatever. She was still like a strong character. She had one hilarious moment when they're all totally fucked up on absinthe. We know it was great, but I did like how they treated her character in that. And it's so sad.
It was very, very surprising to see. So young too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, what did we watch, Colby?
Oh, we're starting with me, huh? So I have a few. Oh yeah, first on the list actually is Popeye's Revenge.
Let's go.
I rented this for $13 when we were all talking in a live the other night. Nobody told me not to, but I did it. Oh wait, we talked about this with Sarah already. Yeah, we actually already talked about me watching Popeye.
But it's worth bringing up again.
Yeah, it's worth bringing up again. It was better than the Piglet movie,
which we will also talk about.
I mean, I didn't hate Popeye's Revenge. It's definitely like you get what you think you're gonna get from it. But yeah. I also watched Beazle again. Ian and I were guests on a podcast talking about Beazle, so check out the Nightclub podcast where we were guests of. It was a good time. I watched. Well, I have 2 5-stars that I put on Letterboxd that I watched. One of them was Everyone Is Going to Die. That's a UK home invasion film. I had seen a trailer for it a couple months ago, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then I saw it was, or Chuck told me it was available on Apple TV. So we both watched it that night and FaceTimed each other like the last 45 minutes. It's insane. It's so good.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's good. My next 5-star is I'll wait for you to actually talk so we can talk about it, but is one I watched called Hoagie. And then after that, I just have Piglet and Cold Wallet.
Did you like Cold Wallet?
I did. I gave it 3 stars.
Oh yeah.
It was a decent thriller. Like it's not one I'd probably ever watch again, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's pretty much how I thought too.
Mm.
It was good. It was decent.
How about you, Dylan? What have you watched that's notable about talking about?
I watched 2 that I loved. I watched Hard Eyes,
which
I thought was unbelievably. I don't even know how to describe it. That movie should not have worked, I guess I should say. Like a rom-com that had slasher elements. And the funny thing is it's a good slasher, but it's a great rom-com.
Yeah.
It to me, I was like, this is like one of the perfect date movies you could go on where like if you had somebody that really was into the horror stuff, and you had, somebody else that wasn't necessarily. I was so kind of taken by that movie. I loved the characters immediately. I loved the killer. I loved all the kills and stuff. So I thought Hard Eyes was awesome. And then I watched The Gorge, which I actually really, really enjoyed. I think some of the CGI was a little bloated here and there, and it got a little bit too. I have like a problem with CG when it feels weightless, when stuff moves like so fast, it doesn't feel like it has like actual weight to it. But I did like The Gorge quite a bit. I thought Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy were really good. Their chemistry was so good, and then that movie goes from like 0 to 100 about the second half. So I was a big fan.
I really like both Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. But are you a big fan of rom-coms?
Actually, yeah. So that's what's so funny. I love horror movies. I like making horror movies. But I love romantic comedies. One of my all-time favorite movies ever is Overboard with Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. I have, oh my gosh, I have like memories of watching that with my mom and my sister for years. We would throw that movie on all the time, and we'd laugh at the exact same jokes every single time as if it was the first time we saw it. I love that one, and then I always really, really liked How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I thought was so good. Yeah, I love those. I like the super raunchy ones, and then I like the ones that are even a little more sweet.
Yeah.
Even like romantic dramas. Miles Teller, again, I think was in one with Shailene Woodley. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember what it's called. She's kind of the outcast girl, and he's like a total mess. They're in high school. I wish I could remember the movie.
It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, it was a little indie film. But I've always kind of loved human stories. And then especially like, I'm kind of a romantic, I've even in my personal life, just like always enjoyed the idea of, falling in love and stuff. So seeing characters fall in love is something I actually enjoy in movies, not just getting their heads cut off and stuff.
Yeah, it's my second favorite subgenre, like right after horror. So that's why I loved Hard Eyes so much.
What do you think?
How about you, Ian? What did you watch?
Well, I watched Piglet, a 10 out of 10 movie that I made you watch. No, Piglet was, so I'm a sucker for the dumb kids properties turned into horror movies. And Piglet was not the worst I've seen, but it could have been so much better. It looked good, like production wise for the most part, but yeah, it had some issues. It could have went so much harder, but regardless,
it started off really strong and then it catfished me.
Yeah. What's funny too is like when I was getting my review together for it, like every description on every site says it's a human pig hybrid, and it's not. Like you literally see him dig through this box of masks, find a pig mask, and put it on.
And it's the same mask from the Pooniverse, right? But they're not connected at all.
No, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much the same mask. So, but yeah, that other Mickey Mouse one did the same thing though. It had poo. It had Winnie the Pooh in it, like the same mask from the first Blood and Honey, but it's not connected whatsoever. So I don't know. I think they're just all sharing costumes and shit at this point.
That is funny. I want to see the Peter Pan one. That one actually looked like brutal.
It's good.
It's really good.
That one to me looked like, of all of them, I was like, that actually looks like the one for me that would pick my interest the most.
I thought it was the best one. I think they're progressively getting better. Like I wasn't a big fan of the first Blood and Honey. I thought Blood and Honey 2 ripped. It was so fun. And then Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, it blew me away.
There's a Bambi one that looks great too from the teaser that I saw.
It looks fun.
Yeah, it looks up my alley because I love like schlocky monster movies, and it just looks absurd. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
Have you heard anything about the Pinocchio one?
No.
it's all practical effects, and it's supposed to go super hard.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Pinocchio kind of freaked me out anyway. Just even the Disney movie is a little eerie to me. So yeah, that could be interesting.
Like obviously, the story, Pinocchio wants to be a real boy and whatnot. I guess there's a scene where he rips the skin off a boy and wears it.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. All right. What else did you watch?
Well, I watched the 1997 classic Gummo,
Oh, yes.
which is a legit masterpiece. I love that movie.
It's so good. Except for
Um,
the stuff with the cats.
so like the whole movie. There's so many dead fake cats in that movie.
I hate it, but I love the movie.
I finally got around to watching Hellraiser Judgment. It was the only Hellraiser movie I had not seen, and I'd heard good things about it, and I was a bit disappointed. It's another one that had potential, but didn't quite land for me.
Is that the one with Paul Taylor? I think is his name. He plays Pinhead.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I just met him at a con last year. Talked to him. I was actually hosted a panel that he was on. Super nice guy, and he really stands by that storyline in that one, kind of showing us a total different side of the Cenobites and like that universe. And so same thing. I was like, well, I got to go watch this because he's such a nice guy, and he kind of sold me on it. And I was the same way. I was like, man, there was a lot of like teases that it was going to go places, and then it just never really does. And I think budgetary limitations are big, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's the best of the quote unquote shitty sequels.
Yeah, I think I've seen the one Scott Derrickson did, Inferno, which is like the one where it's almost like a gumshoe detective movie.
Yeah.
And that one was okay. But yeah, for me, it's like 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much the ones that I continuously watch.
I like
Part 2 is my favorite.
I like the Hulu one a lot too.
Oh yeah, David Bruckner's version was really interesting. It was a little slow, I think, in parts, but for the most part, I was like, damn, there's some sick visuals in this.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, Judgment felt a lot like Inferno to me, just because of the storyline. Like, but I love the Cenobite story, and I felt like the set design and the atmosphere of it like was perfect for a Hellraiser film. But it was like the cop story and the Cenobite story just didn't mesh.
Yeah.
So that's where it didn't land for me. But I mean, it's a Hellraiser movie, and for the most part, there's more bad than good. So it's definitely not the worst.
I think one of the things I love so much about those original ones is just like the sheer amount of practical effects they had to do, because it's what they had at the time. But it's like Clive Barker just went like hard with them. They were not the best by any means of what was out there at the time, but they didn't care. You saw stuff in like full light. It was just like, we're going to do it. Yeah. We're going to show you everything, no matter if it's a little silly, a little cheesy. And I imagine, I would love to have been an audience member when it first came out, because I'm sure people were probably just like repulsed at a lot of the stuff on screen back then.
Oh, absolutely. With Frank coming up through the floorboards and all that shit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good old Frank.
Right. And then I watched Hoagie because of dear friend Colby.
Dylan,
Hoagie
have you heard of Hoagie yet?
I have not heard of that one.
I'm going to send you the trailer when we get off of here.
Okay. Is it like Header, like that type of?
No, it's not.
No. Okay.
I mean, it's definitely got some messed up stuff in it, but nothing like that.
I tried watching that one, and I was with one of the other horror dads, Dustin Tamplin, came over, and we put it on, and neither of us were in the mindset, I guess, to suffer through it, because we were like, I don't know, 30 minutes in, and we looked at each other and we're like, let's put on something that's more our cup of tea right now, because I just was like, I'm sure I'll find some stuff to enjoy, and I kind of knew the story already from the source material. But I was having a hard time buying into that one for some reason. It's
so bad.
It's silly as shit.
So I haven't released my review yet for Hoagie, but the way I explain it, it's got like the heart and kind of like the little creatures of Gremlins. It's got the violence and like the grindhouse feel of Toxic Avenger, and then it's just got like the feel of Psycho Goreman. So mix all three of those up, and like my favorite part of this movie was So I don't remember how much the budget was, but I think he said like 6 grand or something. So like this dude has a full-time job like you guys, and they've been working on this movie for 3 years, just whenever they have time, you know? And yeah, it's got so much heart, and the acting, it's so bad, but it's self-aware how bad it is, so they really play along with that in the dialogue, and it just makes it so fun.
Yeah, it sounds like something I got to check out for sure.
And then the gore just goes hard.
Oh, that's great. I did watch the Psycho Gorman, that director's other one with all the puppets, um, where
Was
he
it
like,
Frankie Frico or
yeah, Frankie
okay.
Frico. Yes, I actually loved it. It was giving
Hmm.
me Ghoulies vibes like all over the place.
Oh, and it also gave me Garbage Pail Kids vibes as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 1,000%.
Ian, what are your thoughts on Hoagie?
I had three other movies that it reminded me of, and I can't remember what one of them was, but it gives me Tim and Eric vibes, along with now he said goalies, that's all I'm thinking is goalies. What's the other Critters?
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
love Critters.
So it was
Huge
like
Critters
Tim
fan.
and Eric meets Critters meets something else that I can't think of right now. But yeah, I mean, it has all those vibes. It's very over the top and silly, and in the best way.
Yeah, I got to check it out. You guys have sold me already, so I'm in.
So I don't forget, I'm gonna text it to you right now.
What? Where can I stream it?
So they're actually working on getting distribution and stuff for it right now. I think they're gonna shoot for um Screenbox, Shutter, because it's got, I mean, Dude Bro Party Massacre got picked up by Shutter, and that's like one of those so bad and self-aware movies. So I
Yeah,
really do think like once people start seeing this movie, they'll be like, holy shit, like this is actually kind of good.
I'm excited.
And then while
Yeah.
you're doing that, we both watched another one this week too. I'm only mentioning it now because it's kind of a spoiler for next week's episode. Uh, but it's Ketchup on Waffles.
Oh yeah, how did I forget that?
And I also spoke to John and confirmed, so he will be on next week.
Cool.
But yeah, Ketchup on Waffles is another very very interesting movie. And I say interesting because it's giving people different reactions. So it's a very like disturbing content. It's fucked up, and I mean you can give your thoughts on it, Colby, and then I'll follow up with
Mhm.
mine since they're so vastly different.
Yeah, so for me, it really like hit me hard. It made me like really sad just because of like how real it is with how humanity treats each other. Because essentially it's three masked men. They take a 24-hour diner hostage and just start killing people, just tormenting, torturing them. But one thing I loved about the movie is they don't glorify any SA, any harm to children, animals, anything like that. And it's really not like super graphic, like with gore and stuff, but it just hit like deep with like the dialogue. And I don't know, like for me, one of my biggest fears is like mass casualty events, like just crap like that, because it happens all the time and it's disgusting and I hate that. So this one, it just hit like that with for me. But I can see where other people have their things because how it's labeled on IMDb and Google. So I'll let you take it from there.
So yeah, so I watched it and I didn't look up anything. Like I didn't look up IMDb or
Mhm.
anything like that. So I just watched it, and the style of it is what stood out at first to me because it's very like the first thing that I think of, even though it's a very different movie, is kids. But it's just like that, like that kind of fast-paced camera work. There's like a lot of kind of like comic book style inserts thrown in. So, and I know that's very different from kids, but regardless. But it just had that like almost kind of punk rock skateboard vibe to
Mhm.
it. And so I noticed that right off the bat. Obviously, the content's very fucked up. Like these three dudes are completely fucked. They're complete trash. Uh, but it's just the way that he filmed it and that he put it together, where it's disturbing content, but I didn't personally find it disturbing. Like if I was in that scenario, then absolutely. But as a viewer, it was more entertaining to me, even though they're complete trash. And I appreciate it for a few things. The fact that it doesn't show, graphic fucked up shit. Like the content's there, but it doesn't show it. It cuts away, or it throws up an insert. You see the aftermath, but you don't really see anything that's happening. And what else was it? Oh, it doesn't glorify the characters at all.
That
So
too.
yeah. So even though you're spending hour 15 with these characters, you're not. It doesn't try to make you like them at all. They're just straight trash from beginning to end. And then so my reaction to it was I found it entertaining and I found it comical, and that worried me. By the end, I'm like, well, am I supposed to find this comical? Like, am I supposed to like enjoy what I'm watching? So I looked it up on IMDb, and the very first category is dark comedy, and I was like, whew, like I think I'm safe. I think I'm all right.
That's like Natural Born Killers.
Yes, yeah.
Because that's one, those people are so awful, but I do have this weird, every time I watch it, I have this like weird sense of like, what if they get away, like what if he gets out of this? And it's like, I shouldn't want him to get out of these things because these are horrible, terrible people. But yeah, Oliver Stone films it so like chaotically that, yeah, I'm always mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
And like another thing too, like when I'm out eating at like restaurants and stuff, I can never have my back to the door. It's just like I have so much anxiety about stuff like that.
I gotta watch The Door too. I'm the same way.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers is a perfect comparison because it's those kind of vibes. But yeah, I mean, it's a good ass movie, and it's another one. It's in they're looking for a distributor right now, so it's not available to the public yet. But yeah, it's one that's definitely going to get a reaction, regardless of how you feel about it.
Yeah, in my review, I said it's either going to affect you like me, make you sad. You're either going to hate it or you're going to think it's like a fucked up comedy.
Yep. But yeah, I do love that it like gave us two very different reactions to it.
Yeah.
Means it's effective, and I like that. All right. Well, I guess we'll get into our main topic.
I'm excited.
And now, our feature presentation.
Our main topic is Dillon Brown. So yeah, just to let you know, I don't have any questions prepared.
Perfect.
So this is just us bullshitting. So.
Yeah, I never prepare questions because I like to make it feel like natural and just fun.
Yeah, I prefer that, so that's good.
So yeah, all I did was I went through your filmography, wrote everything down as far as what's credited to IMDb as far as what you directed. But yeah, so I've seen the Tahoe Joe movies. And The Summer We Died. I just watched Ghost last night. That was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I mean, you gave us the kind of backstory into why you got into it or how you got into it. But if I don't know if you want to just, I will start with like The Devil's Children. I haven't seen it, but like that was your first.
Please don't.
But that was was that your first full length?
Yeah. So that's when I had been doing the short films, and I thought, okay, it's time to push this and see if I can tell a longer narrative. So I write this big long treatment. I've got this big story, and we go get a location set, and I'm about 2 meetings in with the cast, and I suddenly realize, like, brother, what are you doing? There's no way you can film what you wrote. There is like no way. And I had to have that kind of like come to Jesus speech with myself of like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Like, you wrote all this stuff. How are you going to do any of this? Right. So what I ended up doing was I ended up cutting a sequence from that original script, and I stretched it into The Devil's Children, kind of made its own story. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, the cast was like super dedicated. They were all local Reno theater kids, and we got together, we filmed this thing in a couple of days. And I mean, I hate to say it, but like about day 2 of 3, I'm sitting there going, this was a mistake. This is the worst thing I've ever done. I can't believe I did this. I have to finish because they're all here, but like, what are you making? Cut it together. Had no idea what I was going to do with it. And there's a streaming service called POV Horror, and
Yep.
they're run by Play Now Media. And I got in touch with the distributor there, and he said, "Hey, look, I got a site that this is perfect for. I'll license it from you." And I thought, wow, okay. Like, I thought this was going to maybe just be something I tossed on YouTube, and now, holy crap, I got somebody that wants to license this thing and put it out there. So we put it out there. I just got eviscerated online. My favorite, it's actually been something I hold true every time I go to make a movie. I always think about this one reviewer, right? And he said, and I quote, "It would have been a better movie if Dillon Brown would have put the camera up his ass for 60 minutes instead of giving us what he gave us."
Damn.
Yeah, right. And
I hate even laughing at that.
oh, it's so funny though, because there's actually a few people in some of these big found footage groups that like genuinely enjoy the movie. So I'm like, yeah, it's just one guy's hilariously mean opinion. But because I knew that it was not what I really wanted to make, I immediately, I'm talking like within a month, I'm already trying to put wheels into motion to make the next movie, which is The Flock. The Flock is actually what the original script was that I took that one little cut scene from and made The Devil's Children. So then I decided, now I kind of have the confidence to say, screw it, let's go bigger. Let's really make your vision. You already got beat up by the internet once. Like, you can deal with this now. So I went and made The Flock. Another catastrophic, probably failure as far as like how I look at it, because I bit off way more than I could chew. But it was a movie with the same characters from The Devil's Children. And it's essentially the Satanists who really believe that this demon Moloch, who is a trickster, and he's going to basically give them anything they wish if they make these sacrifices in his name. When the world ends, they're going to be spared. So they truly believe this. So they take this kid hostage, and they're filming this whole thing because Moloch moves through mirrors or any kind of reflections, but he doesn't like being seen. And so they have the camera rolling the whole time because they know that if he's recorded, he'll probably stay out of their way, right? Absolutely ridiculous plot because we have so many plot holes where that is like so fucked, but I didn't address it. So anyway, they have this kid, and they're trying to go meet up with this group called The Flock that is this mysterious online cult that is basically also praying to Moloch. And so they want to go meet with this guy named Crow who runs The Flock because they think this is where this big event's going to take place. And we're going to prove our worth to this guy so we can join his cult for the end of days. Unbeknownst to them, there's these mercenaries for the church that are literally hired by the church to go kill Satanists and cultists and stop these things from happening. So all those threads kind of come to a head at the end of the movie. And that's when I first met Mike Rock, was on that set. And then his character in that movie, Ghost, was a smaller character. And I really wanted to work on that again. So that's why I brought Mike back and we made the movie Ghost, which is like a spinoff of The Flock. So in like a weird roundabout way, my favorite movie I made in that universe wouldn't have happened if I didn't make those two movies that I don't even want to watch anymore. But, I had to make them to get to where I got to get Mike really as like the lead guy in this movie. And then, yeah, so, we made those in between Ghost and The Flock, though. Mike and I made this little Bigfoot movie called Tahoe Joe for $800. I remember telling Mike, hey, I got this idea. I want to make this Bigfoot movie. And it's going to be me and you, and we're going to play ourselves. And Mike looked at me just like this. Okay. Yeah, like, yeah, I'm in. And he looked so apprehensive. So I went and shot the opening scene to show him kind of the vibe I was going for. And I sent it to him, and he immediately hit me back. And he's like, dude, I didn't know this is kind of the style you were going with. He's like, I didn't know you were going to try and make it like so realistic to our personal lives. I'm in. He was like, I'm sold. After that 5 minutes that you just sent me, I'm sold. And so, we just had an absolute blast. We spent like a whole summer out. We had budget was like $800. Make this movie. I can't get it distributed anywhere. I'm pitching to Terror Films and Indie Rights. Yes, I'm putting them on blast. I put out there, nobody wants it, right? I put it on. I submit it to Amazon. They reject it, and I'm like, maybe this isn't as good as what we thought. And we were just kind of not really knowing what to do. And so I went back to the POV horror guy, and he snatched it up immediately. He's like, there's a market for this. I don't know why those people would turn this down. So we put it out there, and within like 3 weeks, he had it on Tubi, and it just went like thermonuclear ballistic for us. Like, I had so many followers all of a sudden, and friend requests, and all these like found footage groups and indie groups and Bigfoot groups were all posting about it. And I'm like, holy crap, we did make something fun here, I guess. I made this like chintzy Bigfoot suit in my garage, and it was falling apart on set. And we're trying to like figure out what we're going to do. So we're cutting all these scenes out of it. And then we just were like up in the woods. So we're like, well, let's just stay till it's pitch black so we can hide him at least. And then it worked out. That my whole favorite sequence in the entire movie is when it switches to night vision and we're running around in the woods at the end. And that was all like a happy accident. And I know that I'd mentioned to you guys earlier about Jaws. If you watch Tahoe Joe again, I want you to pay attention to how close I modeled it after Jaws. So it's some guys basically going out to find a creature that had picked off people in their community. And the whole second half of Tahoe Joe mimics Jaws. It's 3 guys going out after this legendary creature. And then Shane, the conspiracy theorist guy, actually has the Quint sideburns. And so we really, really tried to, or I personally really tried to model it after Jaws. And that was, not showing much of the creature. You just know he's there. And I loved what we made. That was the first time I made something where I was truly like, I can do this, and I'm super proud of what I made. And I got to show that thing in a couple of different theaters, which was super fun. We took it to my hometown. I grew up in a little town in Northern California, and we had like a packed house in a theater that I grew up in watching movies as a kid. And all of a sudden I've got all these people here in town watching this movie and got a standing ovation. And it was just awesome. So obviously, as soon as that was done, Mike and I immediately were like, well, we got to make a sequel. We have to go back to Joe. And so we did Ghost. We had a lot of fun with it. Ghost is an interesting movie, though, because it's like the one movie in my filmography that nobody knows about. Hardly anybody's seen it. It's never talked about. I don't know why it never really picked up any traction, but it didn't. And so we decided to go back and do Tahoe Joe 2. And in the midst of filming that one, I went and shot another movie while filming Tahoe Joe 2 stuff called Split Screen with my buddy Josh, where we did 2 little hour-long films and did like a double feature. And I did an alien movie that's kind of it is in the Tahoe Joe universe, and shot that thing. And oh my God, this is exhausting me actually talking about all this stuff. Because then, as we were doing Tahoe Joe 2, I got asked to do a short for Ash Hamilton's film called Final Days. Yep. It's actually just hit Amazon. And so I did a segment for that called Grandma. And then I shot an episode of Dustin Templin's found footage series called Midnight Feature. I did one of those episodes. We finished Tahoe Joe 2, and I launched into The Summer We Died. And The Summer We Died is probably my favorite thing I've ever done because it's truly me on like a platter. Like I made this thing saying, if nobody likes it, I don't care because I love it. And so I made it in my own way. Very raw. It's funny you guys brought up kids earlier because Larry Clark's stuff was actually a big influence on how I did this with like the handheld stuff. Launched into The Summer We Died, finished that one. And I have actually been on a filmmaking hiatus since about last September. I haven't done anything. I know for most directors, they go, what? You took 6 months off? Oh my God, that's so crazy. Like, we take years in between. And I'm like, no, this feels like forever that I haven't done anything. But we are actively in production on Tahoe Joe 3. So there we go.
Hell yeah.
That was so much. Like
right?
I had so many questions from so many things that he said, and now I'm just like,
I'm sorry. Fuck. I just had to get it out
good.
there.
He hit on every note I had.
The first thing, this break you're taking, it's very well deserved because you are such a busy guy. So I definitely respect that. Everyone needs their breaks. I get yelled at if I take like a fucking day off, not dropping a movie review or something. But
Yeah, I had to reset. I was starting to feel like it was work, and my whole thing is like as soon as the filmmaking stuff feels like work, I don't want to do it anymore.
mm,
And it was stressing me out, and I was just I got kids and a wife I'm just like obsessed with and crazy about, and I was missing out on stuff, and
yeah.
I needed to get back to that, and it's helped because I'm starting to see some things that I probably wouldn't have seen as far as like being a good filmmaker without having that time to pause and reflect. And so it's been good just to take a bit of a break and just kind of let these movies now come to me naturally instead of feeling like I always have to keep up with the Joneses, you know.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. We just had Sarah she's the VP of marketing. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
She's the VP of marketing for Terror Film. So we talked about the grandma segment last week.
Oh, that's awesome. That was so much fun, man. I Mike Rock let us use his house for that. He had just had back surgery, so he was
Mm.
pretty much confined to like a walker. Um, and so Mike just like sat in an area, and we basically turned the power off to his house one night. Went over there with two other actors, and we shot the whole thing in one evening. And I just had a blast. That was so much fun. Um, Making a movie where I was following the lead actress the whole time, just kind of behind her giving direction, but in the pitch black with just like a one flashlight as the only light source was actually creeping me out because Darcy, who played our grandma character, she was not staying in the same place as I was telling her to. She was purposely like skittering around the house, and it was freaking me out because I didn't know where she was.
Mm.
And it was so much fun. And we had a really cool uh like facial appliance and stuff that she got to wear too that just transformed her. She's like the sweetest lady, and she turned sinister so quick. We got that stuff on her and she was just immediately scary.
And I promise I'm not being biased, but it was legitimately fucking scary.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
And
so
like,
this,
and I knew it was your segment because as soon as I heard the voice of the cop, I knew it was Mike right away.
Oh, that's great.
I was like, that's Mike. This is Dylan's. I was like, I'm locked in.
yeah,
But
I was gonna say Colby said it's legit scary, so now I'm very excited to see it.
Yeah, it does really well in a dark room. I love what Robbie Banfitch did with the Outwaters. I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea.
love the Outwaters.
Yeah, I mean Robbie went so hard in a way that most found footage filmmakers would never attempt to go. And I loved what he did just with the darkness and how scary it was. And so like I never wanted it to come across like I was trying to copycat anything, but I love the idea of in real life in the dark when you just have one flashlight. I mean, that's how it really is. You only have that small limited visibility. And I just wanted to play with that. But in a not out in the wood or, not out in the vast desert like he did, I thought, how can I make your home that is supposed to feel like a safe space or your
Mm.
grandmother's home scary? And now all of a sudden this place that used to be a safe haven for this young woman is like not anymore. Now it's the enemy because it's dark and she's trying to navigate around. And I also wanted to make a segment where she's still very much under the impression, this is just a sundowning episode with a grandmother that's got some dementia going on. And so she's still very much, she loves her grandma and she doesn't want to leave. And that's what holds her there. But it just, obviously things just like escalate as she sees more and more of what the hell's going on with grandma.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent anthology film altogether, but you're again not being biased. I thought your segment really stood out.
Thanks, man. That's awesome.
But talking about going fucking hard on movies, I think I'm ready to talk about The Summer We Died.
Ah, yes.
So, like you said, it's your favorite thing that you've done, and this is also my favorite thing you've done. Like when you sent it to me and I watched it, I loved it. Like before the finale, like I loved it. I was like, damn, this is super punk rock. I love the style. I really like all the characters. It really digs into like some family drama as well. But once you hit that final act, it's a twist I didn't fucking see coming. I thought it was very clever and unique. And then that last death went fucking hard.
It's so funny. I actually wrote that movie around that death. I just had this idea. If you did this particular thing, what
Mhm.
would it be like? And I thought, who would be deserving of it? And who would do this to him and all this stuff. And then eventually, yeah, the story kind of came together. But it's so funny. I know people always have different inspirations for the movies. And I was like, I can't believe that my entire movie was based around like me one time fantasizing about what would be a cool way to kill somebody on screen.
It was so fucking cool. And again, like I knew Mike Rock from the Tahoe Joe movies already, but still seeing him as that character is like, I don't like this, but I fucking love it at the same time.
I felt the same way. He shaved his beard and everything, and I had
Mhm.
never seen him like that. And so when he did that, I was like, "Oh my God, this is nuts." I mean, his fiance didn't even want him to come home. She's like, "You can come back to the house when you grow your hair back, bro. Like you are freaking me out."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was fun to see him transform for sure.
But yeah, as soon as I finished The Summer We Died, like I think you were up at like because I work nights, you were up at like 3 or 4 a.m. my time talking to me about it. I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. And I texted Ian right away too. I was like, dude, as soon as this movie drops, you need to check this one out. So
Yep.
I just loved everything about it. It's definitely in my top 10 for slashers.
Oh, that's freaking like awesome. That is so cool.
Just the uniqueness, the punk rock of it. I love the color palette you use and just the vibe.
Yeah, I kind of had this idea as it was coming together. I was like, I'm like a huge fan of nostalgic shows that I watched as a kid. And in fact, I just went through like my 10th binge of Saved by the Bell. I have always loved Saved by the Bell, all the way up through the college years, all of it. I thought it was such a fun show. And so I thought, like, what if Saved by the Bell was like an Italian giallo slasher or something? Um, Shot in like the style of Bully or Kids or something that had
Mhm.
that like very handheld thing. And yeah, and then it just kind of like transformed into like this long living music video or something. And a lot of it really has to do with those three girls that we cast. They were so good and they were so easy to work with that I found myself almost more like a documentary filmmaker where I was just following them and letting them navigate a lot of what happened. And so a lot of the footage with those girls is really them just hanging out, and I was just filming. And so that's why so much of the movie is set to like punk music and stuff, and not necessarily like a ton of dialogue in certain scenes. It was more fun to try and capture that moment that I've always felt is like my one of my favorite moments. And I shouldn't say one of my. I guess I will. I'll say it's one of my favorite moments in life. I feel like every decade I have something more to like really appreciate and love. And like right now, it's like being married and having kids is my favorite thing. But that sort of snapshot that everybody has where you're not quite a kid anymore, but you're not an adult. It's such a really interesting period of time. And I've always been fascinated with people finding their place, like where do they belong in the world? And so it was a lot of fun to follow these girls and see them kind of caught between being teenagers, but also like young women. And it was really interesting and a really fun experience for sure.
How are the reviews coming for that? I didn't even look up reviews for The Summer We Died, but how is the audience taking that one?
It's interesting. I've seen a lot of really positive ones. I mean, Dread Central just did a review, glowing. They really loved it. The twist is really what's kind of captivated everybody.
Mhm.
I've yet to talk to anybody that's called the twist, and that to me that's the biggest win. Like nobody saw it coming, but it's not like so far fetched that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's there the whole time. But there's also the side that there's people on Letterboxd that are just flat out mean sometimes. I think you always have people that don't appreciate movies like what we watch. They're
Mhm.
going to see stuff. They automatically think everything's got to have $1 million budget and be glossy. And so they get mad about that. And
Yeah.
it's like, give me critique on the story and I'll take that all day long. But if you're just going to hammer me because I didn't have a lot of money, well, I don't really care. That was out of my control. I don't give a shit. Right. But it does seem to be the general consensus is most people have felt a little bit of a connection. Like they feel like, especially people that grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, they're like, I know these characters or I was these characters. And so that's been a lot of fun.
And I grew up in a skate park in the 2000s, so that's just
Right?
everything hit for me.
It was so
And
fun to go back.
I'm also somebody that when I'm watching like a whodunit, it's me trying to guess the twist, the killer the entire time. And usually I'm pretty good at it. And it's one I did not see coming at all. And like you said, it's very believable. It's not far-fetched. I just everything about that movie hit for me. Like I could not stop raving about it to Ian.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel the same way because as soon as I started watching it, it took me back to my junior high school days
Yep.
of going to the skate park every day after school and hanging out with with that group of people. So it hit in a nostalgia way, in a way I could relate to, and that was without even the horror stuff included in it. So it was a win-win. I love the characters, I love the style. Like Colby said, yeah, it's a skateboard punk rock slasher. Like it just fucking works. And then this, the slasher elements and the twist and the ending, everything about it's fucking awesome. And we both love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's so fun. I remember my mom telling me that she felt like she would have been entertained watching the movie if there was no horror at all. If it was literally just watching those kids, she said I could have watched the movie just seeing what these girls' summer entailed, And I thought that's like a massive compliment because I was setting out to make a slasher movie, but to me, I thought that's such a testament to the work that those girls put in and really everybody. I mean, all the supporting cast, a lot of them have done a ton of local projects together. So they all knew each other. And I think that helped a lot because they were real comfortable with each other. And it did feel like an actual real, like cohesive group of friends. I mean, and most of the boys in the movie were those girls' actual boyfriends too, which was a lot of fun that they got to be on camera together and stuff.
I like that. And I've never thought of it that way as even if it wasn't a horror movie, because thinking about that now, I'm like, yeah, I would I would still dig that.
It was fun watching them. There were times when I would give them some prompts and some stuff that I wanted them to go, and then I would tell them like it's okay if you go off, just go. I'll bring you back if I need you to. And there were like a few times where I thought this is like the director's dream. I don't have to coach like at all. They're just naturally doing things that I wanted to capture anyway, and it was fun. There's a sequence when all the girls are at like the river. There are a couple of the girls are at the river. They're hanging out, and one of the girls, baby girl, that character played by Hannah Welty, her dad shows up to chew her ass out about being out, and it was so fun because Brian Lee, who played the dad, he's a local comedian, and I'd never seen him act so serious before. He's another veteran as well. But I usually always saw him as just like funny comic. And so when he came in and he put on his dad pants, I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. And I almost forgot to call cut a couple times because I was watching him yell at these girls and they're yelling back at their dad. And Hannah's telling me like, I felt like I was in a real fight, with my dad or something over this. And they were really going back and forth. And Grace did the same thing in her scene when she was arguing with her mom. Her and Annie, who played her mom, had actually never met until that day on set. And they got into this like big mother-daughter fight and it got like emotional. Grace starts like eyes are all watery and she was like legitimately mad at Annie about this. And it was a trip, man. It was cool.
Yeah, the dialogue, but the few scenes of the dialogue between the parents and the kids, like it's very engaging. It's very relatable.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Ian said, just the nostalgia, the way it can relate with you. It's just, I fucking loved it.
It was fun. And then the stuff with all the deaths were great. A fun fact for anybody watching, there's a ton of, I wanted to do those giallo shots of like the gloved hand, with the knife, like coming in up close, real extreme close-ups. And all of those sequences that I needed filmed were actually done by Dustin Tamplin's 13-year-old son. He came in and put the costume on so I could film all those scenes of the hand with the knife and all that. So it was really fun to have Dustin there who was helping me with all my special effects and the blood and stuff. And then having his son being a part of it was a blast.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. And I still have I've got a couple of the props, including a particular skateboard that's still hanging out in my garage.
Hell yeah.
Is it covered in blood?
Oh, it's a mess, dude.
I'm gonna take a picture with it.
Oh, hell yeah.
But I love hearing little fun facts about that.
It was fun, man. we to do a lot of our blood stuff, Dustin came up with this really kind of ingenious sprayer thing. We took an old insecticide sprayer that we got from Home Depot, and he made this really great blood recipe that didn't get super thick. It was watery enough to really spray, and so rigged it up with all these hoses, and he put a valve on it, and we would just pump that thing like 150 times until it was about ready to explode. And then he would just hit that valve and we just let it go, and it just sprayed shit. And my backyard where we did one of our scenes still has blood and viscera all over the back fence and shit back there. And it was a lot of fun to make a movie and have all those kind of made in the garage effects.
I love that. Ian.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about Tahoe Joe as well a lot. I think we're going to get into it a lot more here at the end, though, as well, with our 2 questions that are going to be brought up. Because I think the 2 questions both are going to last a little long. So should we jump into our favorite questions before if you have anything else?
I just had a couple quick ones. Speaking of Tahoe Joe, I'm glad that it is getting recognition. I feel like it's still very, very underrated, though. Because when you think Bigfoot found footage, Willow Creek's always the first one that comes to mind. So when I came across Tahoe Joe, I was like, what is this? Why is this not talked about enough? So fuck yeah for Tahoe Joe. And then Ghost, like I said, I checked out Ghost last night. I'm probably going to put a review out for it tomorrow, especially now knowing that it's not talked about really at all.
That's what I'm watching tonight as well.
But yeah, it was really cool. And I chose that one. Like I said, I went through your filmography and the ones I hadn't seen. And Ghost is the one that kind of stood out just by the description, because it sounded so different from anything else I've ever seen, especially found footage. But yeah, it was a good time. Really enjoyed it. So watch out for a review for that probably tomorrow. But yeah, so we have 2 things. Anytime we have a filmmaker on the show, we have 2 things that we like to ask/request. And this is gonna be a first. I'll take the first one and let Colby do the second one. But this is a first for us because we have one request, and it's a first because it's already going to happen. So our request is, if you ever make a movie and need people to get killed in it, keep us in mind. But we've already determined that Colby and I are going to be in Tahoe Joe 3 and get killed there. So you're the first one that has fulfilled the request and ahead of time. So thank you and congratulations.
I am super excited, man. We Mike and I are just super pumped about that, and we've been kind of doing our meetings back and forth. We're setting up that big sequence and stuff, and we are so jazzed about bringing you guys in, because we're going. It's the 3rd movie in this franchise thing. It's our swan song on it. We think we're probably going to retire Joe after this, just because it's the thing we love, but we want to graduate past it. We don't want to overstay its welcome. So obviously, because it's the 3rd one, and Joe has always been, a part of the movies, but budget reasons and stuff, we haven't gone totally nuts. We're really happy with our Bigfoot suit and where it's at now. And so we're bound and determined to make a big time, in your face, lots of monster movie. This one's going to be lots of Joe. He will be the centerpiece. So we're so excited.
I can't believe I'm going to be part of it, and I can't wait. And I'm going to be right next to my best friend with it too, and I can't wait.
That's right.
Oh, I'm excited to scare the shit out of you guys out there in the woods.
We're very excited.
When you sent me those hotels to look at too, I was when I looked up the picture for that one that's kind of off the path, I was like, this is it. This is creepy as shit. We're staying here. But then it was so expensive every night. So I was like, nah, we'll stay at the resort.
Yeah, the Tahoe, anything. Yeah, some of that stuff up in that area, when you start getting those Lake Tahoe prices, it's rough.
It looks so creepy and cool, though.
I mean, here's a fun fact for everybody. It's called Tahoe Joe, but because of the filming permits in California up at Tahoe, we don't really film at Tahoe. We have a space that's in the Tahoe National Forest, but to keep us from tripling our budget or being arrested, we go film in another location.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, we can't wait. And before Colby goes here, I do just want to thank you
Oh man.
because it's amazing that to even be a part of it. So thank you.
Oh, I thank you guys. I'm excited. Anytime we get fresh meat for the grinder, I'm excited.
So I have a feeling what the answer is going to be for this one. But if you had an unlimited budget, you had the rights to anything you ever wanted to do, what is a movie you would make a remake of or a sequel to?
Oh man, give me Jurassic Park.
Yep.
Give me Jurassic Park. I would I would never try and overstep or redo what Spielberg did with that first movie. I know that the book goes really, really hard and the movie really couldn't do a lot of that stuff, but they've been kind of systematically taking pieces from that first book and scattering it in all 6 movies so far. And then 7, when Rebirth hits, I know is going to actually have a very pivotal scene from the book is going to be in Rebirth, and I'm so excited. But if I could jump in on that, I would go probably like a totally original story, original characters. I have always thought it would be amazing to do, like a movie where you have some characters completely unrelated to the storyline that don't have any even previous knowledge of what's going on, right? And they maybe their boat gets marooned on an island somewhere, and they don't realize that where they're at is on the old dilapidated park where the creatures are running around. And so, like for a big part of the movie, they wouldn't even realize they're on the park. There'd be little hints and stuff. But I would go have the whole thing take place over the course of 12 hours. Most of it takes place at night. And I would just go full horror with it. I would make the raptors really scary again. A lot of rain. You got to have rain in that because that's that sequence with the Rex and it's raining and stuff is so awesome. So yeah, man, and you know what else I would do? It's one that I always feel like gets overlooked in all those movies. Everybody always loves the herbivores and they're cool and they're the big gentle creatures. Hell fucking no, dude. I watch buffalo rip people apart in Yellowstone all the time. I would have Triceratops or Brachiosaurus straight stomping on people because they're big wild animals and they're freaking out, and so I would interject a lot of that, big massive tails whipping vehicles off the road, and I don't think that's been done enough, and so I would do that all day long, and I would go as hard into the horror as Universal would let me go.
I love that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And I heard a bunch of rumors that they're going a lot more for the source material of the book for this new one. And there was rumors that they are going to go with a R rating. But now they've been dying down on that a little bit.
I know that I believe the film has received an official rating. It just hasn't been announced yet. And I do know that a second trailer, the runtime, this is how big of a super fan I am. I know that the trailer's coming up in a few months. Runtime is 2 minutes and 34 seconds. And I believe that's when we're supposed to get the actual rating too. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of times they hit PG-13 for money because they know that you're going to pack it out with more people. But there definitely is a vibe, even with the trailer for Rebirth, that it doesn't look as kid-friendly as a lot of the others have.
No. Give me some The Lost World vibes, because Lost World went pretty hard.
Lost World did. That was, and it's so funny too. That movie is rated super low on Spielberg's filmography. If you look at people when they rank, they always put The Lost World really low. And I don't know why, because I felt like he made a perfect follow-up to that other movie. It's not a redo of the first film at all. And I'm I don't really understand why so many people don't love The Lost World, because I thought it was the trailer sequence alone is fucking amazing.
I'm not saying The Lost World is better than Jurassic Park, but I have watched The Lost World a lot more than Jurassic Park.
Really?
I saw it in the theater as a kid. I love that one. The sequence with the waterfall when the snake is going down that guy's shirt, the tall grass and the raptors. I love everything about that movie.
Raptors in the tall grass. That's the stuff where I would go back to, is those kind of sequences for sure.
I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about.
It's so good. Well, and what was so great is I'm a huge fan of animal attack movies anyway.
Mhm.
And The Ghost in the Darkness is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
And
Val
so the
Kilmer.
Raptors, yes. And the Raptors in the long grass sequence was very much reminiscent of those lions, pulling people into the Tsavo long grass and stuff in Kenya.
You're the first person I've heard talk about that movie. Sorry, Ian.
Oh, you're good.
I love that movie. I grew up in a small town. I did a lot of hunting and stuff with my dad, a lot of hunting and fishing. And I started reading Ernest Hemingway, and he had all those crazy adventures across Africa. And so then I started looking up into like more historical Africa stuff. And I found this author named Peter Hathaway Capstick. He was a professional hunter in the 60s and 70s. And he did a big historical piece on the story that The Ghost in the Darkness was based off of. So once I read his portion, I sought the actual journal from Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson, who Val Kilmer plays in the movie, and I read his memoir on it, and it's terrifying. It is, and it goes way more than those lions. Like, this dude got contracted out. He took out like man-killing hippopotamuses, a leopard that killed like 30 people, another man-eating lion, a crocodile that ate like 7 people. I mean, this dude was like taking down like seriously scary shit over the course of like 20 years. It was wild.
That's insane. Didn't they make a movie about that crocodile that ate a bunch of people too?
There was one that was Gustav. And that was in a different part. I think that was kind of in the 80s or early 90s. What was Primeval?
Yep. Yeah, with Orlando Jones and the guy from Prison Break.
Yeah, Dominic Purcell or something.
Yeah, Purcell.
Yeah,
I didn't mind that movie.
It's okay. It's the effects have dated a little bit, but it's not bad. I like Rogue better.
What's the new one that just came out? Bayou?
Bayou,
yes, and I haven't seen that one yet.
Ian watched that one. I almost rented it last night.
Yeah, I mean, for just a silly little
for some
movie.
Meth gators.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's cool. It's cool for what it has. Some cool blood and gore.
I liked Crawl. Alex Aja's Crawl was
loved
great.
Crawl.
Yeah,
any of those animal attack movies, dude. I'm ass in seat. If it's animals attacking people, I'm like, yeah, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, while we're talking about Jurassic Park, I have a question since you're very knowledgeable in Jurassic Park. So there's been one thing about the first one that has always like stuck with me and kind of bothers me now at this point is what's up with the Barbasol can. So when Nedry gets killed and the Barbasol can goes down the little waterfall thing and it's covered up in the mud, like it zooms in on it. Like that's going to be a pivotal piece of something in the future. And it just never came to be.
I think it was one of those moments where, to me, it was almost more symbolic of this guy had the perfect plan, and they have all this stuff has gone right. All this genetic science has gone right to create this massive theme park. All this money's been dumped in to create this experience. He's got the perfect plan. Nobody's going to be able to stop him because the power's off. He's got everything set up, and it still doesn't work because of Jeff Goldblum's life finds a way. And so my thing was, you didn't need the DNA because Grant finds the raptor eggs later on in the movie where he finds out they're breeding anyway. You don't even need the genetic samples anymore because they've already started procreating on their own. And so to me, I almost took it as like a symbolic thing of man's folly of creating life is buried in the dirt because it's already creating itself without it. That's how I take it.
That's amazing. I never would have thought of that. So hell yeah. That makes perfect sense.
The zoom in on the Barbasol can, it makes me think of the zoom in on all the toilets in Dawn of the Dead remake. Just for no reason. The slow-mo zoom ins of the toilets.
Oh man. Oh, so I have one last question then for you.
Okay.
As far as your filmography goes, there was one that you didn't hit on. In the upcoming section, A Man in the Woods with an Axe.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about that one?
So it will be found footage, but it will be found footage unlike probably anything out there except maybe Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Ooh.
Say less.
Yeah, say less. Locked in.
Yeah. So I'm not going to be super close onto that one, but I did take some inspiration a little bit. I have a really unique way I'm going to go about doing this thing. But basically, A Man in the Woods with an Axe is my massive bleeding heart open love letter to all of those 80s killer in the woods movies where it was just like always teens out camping or young people camping and they get killed by somebody, either hillbillies or some mutant guy or whatever. And so all those movies like The Prey and even the first Friday the 13th and just any movie set in the woods with a killer in the woods is where this is going. But I will tell you this, that by about the 30-minute mark, it is not anything like those movies that you've ever seen. Because I am going to take the genre and put it on its head and flip it in a way that I think will be like way, way, way unique. So I'm really excited.
I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm sold. I can't wait.
I'm super excited. It's going to be filmed super retro style. So I actually bought a particular lens that will make my footage look older. So I don't have to do it digitally later. It'll actually be shot to look like it's on an older camera. I'm excited because there's some stuff that I've got planned for this one that's going to be like, I want the audience to be uproariously cheering and laughing along with what's going on, because it's not necessarily going to be like some kind of dead ass serious trying to be terrifying. I want to make a truly entertaining, like applause worthy story. And so I've got some stuff planned that I can't wait to get out there. It's probably not going to be until next summer because TJ3 is going to be bigger than we sort of thought story wise. So it's going to take a little bit longer to do, but man, I'm pumped to get on that one for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah. And if we didn't ask you already, if you need two guys to get killed in that movie, let us know.
Hey, dudes in woods with axes need lots of people to chop up. So I'm sure we can discuss. And when you guys are on set for Tahoe Joe 3, I'll give you the rundown on where this one's going. I'm okay with giving you guys the plot point behind it, because you may be like, sign me the fuck up when you hear it. So
I'm already there, but I can't wait.
I'm already locked in for it.
Oh man. But yeah, Dillon, thank you so much for taking time out to come hang out with us, man. It's been a blast.
This was fun. This was a lot of fun. It's like my favorite podcast I've ever been on, because usually it's a lot of cookie cutter questions and stuff, and this was just, man, having an open dialogue for him is just fun.
Yeah, we try to keep it cool like that. Like the only time I've really like prepared questions was like Stephen Cognetti and shit like that about Hell House. But oh man, it's fun. You're a really easy guy to talk to. I've been talking to you for like 4 or 5 months now, maybe 6 months. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just fits easy, you know?
Yeah. And then also, like, if you ever want to come shoot the shit, talk about horror movies, certain topic, let us know. And you're welcome on anytime. We've had couple directors come on and just do random episodes with us.
Oh, that'd be fun, man. It'd be nice to, I don't have to talk about my own shit. It's fun to talk about all the other fun stuff that's out there for sure. That'll be awesome. One thing I was going to ask you real quick, Ian, since you watched Ghost already, did you catch the well-known 80s actor cameo?
No, there was something on there I did want to talk about real quick that you just reminded me of, but no, I didn't catch a cameo. I don't believe.
So Mike's character Ghost, his dad sends him a video, and his dad is played by Vernon Wells from Commando and Mad Max.
Okay, yeah,
I
recognized him. Yeah,
that was like so freaking cool for me. That was like the first time I got to work with like a legend, you know, growing up, and then here I am like directing this guy for a long sequence, like about a 6-minute monologue that he delivers. And oh man, yeah, so freaking cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. He popped up on screen. I'm like, he looks familiar, and I meant to look him up and completely forgot by the end of it. But yeah, I just want to point out the cool little kind of making fun of Tahoe Joe in the movie.
Right.
They're watching the movie in the movie. And then to kind of make fun of it. And I just got a kick out of that. I thought it was great.
I'm watching that one tonight for sure.
That was super fun. That was Mike's idea, actually, to take like a fake documentary about the real us and put it in a movie where we're not the real us at all, as if it's a movie in that universe. And That was so much fun. And then I'm in Ghost the whole time, but you don't ever see me. You just see my thumb because
I
I
love
play the
that too.
character of Monk.
I love the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah,
It's great.
that was fun. It was kind of cool to make a character that had to have a personality that doesn't talk, but is only through those hand movements. And that was a really fun thing to get to do.
Yeah, it was very like Thing from the Addams Family.
Yes, right.
I loved it. But yeah, before we head out, you have any other updates? Anything else to plug? Anything else to say before we roll out of here?
I got a really cool one. Unnamed Footage Fest in San Francisco, the world's biggest found footage festival. It's taking place in March at the end of the month. And 2 HorrorDadz Productions films are going to be having their world premieres there. Dustin Tamplin's fake documentary called Souvenir and Mike's new movie called The Ruck March are going to be playing at Unnamed Footage Fest as part of a kind of a FoundTV sponsored event. Found sponsored a block of films, and they decided to sponsor 2 HorrorDadz movies. So I'm so excited to get to go over there. I went last year for Tahoe Joe 2, and it was fun, but it was like when you're there representing your film as a filmmaker, you're under all this like pressure and people are interviewing you, and it's kind of hard to take it all in. And now I get to watch them squirm, and I get to go sit back as like a producer and actor and stuff in those movies and just kind of enjoy the festival, see all the other amazing stuff that they've picked this year. And I'm going to sling a bunch of Summer We Died merch. And hey, real quick, while I have you guys here, I got to show you some new stuff. Let me grab it real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will make sure that I can get you guys hooked up, but we've got Summer We Died trucker hats with the girls on there that just got made up, and I'm super loving those.
That's amazing.
So we'll be at Unnamed Footage Fest in San Fran, promoting Ruck March and Souvenir. I don't know, have you guys had a chance to see Colby? You've seen Ruck March,
yeah,
right?
I loved Ruck March.
Souvenir, I can get you a screener for. I would love for you guys to see it because Dustin basically after Unnamed Footage Fest last year, he went with me for Tahoe Joe 2. Dustin got this idea to wrap Unnamed Footage Fest, the actual festival, into a plot for a movie that he could film in between the 2 festivals a year apart. And so there's a lot of stuff tied to the festival that's in this movie, but Dustin basically filmed this thing on his own for large portions of it. And a quick kind of synopsis of the plot is it's a guy who comes down with a mysterious illness, and he knows he doesn't have a lot of time left. And he starts to kind of go into this existential crisis of not wanting to fade away at home in front of his family. So he disappears into the woods with the basically the ultimate goal is he wants to be eaten by a bear.
What the fuck?
To finish things off. Yeah, and it is a trip, man. The movie is a trip.
Locked in.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I'll make sure that Dustin can get a screen. I'll get a screener and get it to both of you guys so you can check it out. It's a wild time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward
And then
to that.
I will definitely be watching Ghost tonight.
Oh, I think you'll have fun with it. It's totally my homage to 80s, cornball movies. We've got the silly one-liners and all that shit in it, but
Perfect.
It's a goofball mess that I just loved making. It is so much fun, and I think you'll see me and Mike are still having our same funny rapport back and forth with each other in that one too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Colby, any last thoughts?
Nope, not off the top of my head.
All right. Well, Dillon, again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. For everyone watching and listening, check the show notes. I'll put all of Dillon's social links, where to find his films, all that information will be in the show notes, along, of course, with all of ours. So hit us up on the social media, the Discord, the merch, and all that fun shit. But yeah, again, Dillon, thanks so much. Can't
Thank you.
enough. Appreciate it, and we can't wait to meet you in May.
Hey, thank you guys, and I'm ready, man. We're gonna be your chauffeurs around the Tahoe area, and we'll go hunt a big old hairy guy.
I can't wait.
Can't wait.
We can't stop talking about it.
That's right.
It's gonna be fun. I will let you guys. I'll tell you this right now on your show. I will let you guys decide how you want to be dispatched by Joe.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm sure we'll come up with something fun.
Hell yeah. I got a box full of props and body parts, so we'll see what we want to get ripped off of you.
Love it.
All of it. All of it. But all right. To everyone watching and listening again, thank you all. We appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. Stay safe out there. Thanks again.
What if everything you know is someone else's dream?
There you go. That's it.